All right, guys. Hey, we're up here getting out. This guy needed to get out of the house. I'm also going to go over a few comments that I have on my video called The Metaphysics of Instinctive Shooting. You can see it up here. Just click on that link right there. I got some comments that I'm going to probably address that kind of hopefully will help you guys a little bit on the instinctive shooting side of things. Now, this system that I use for instinctive shooting and the way that I do it isn't the end-all be-all for sure. And there's some guys that put out shooting videos that are by far better than I am. Go check out Joel Turner with the Shot IQ and check out Tom Klum. Kind of important to go over the definition of metaphysics before we start talking about how it relates to archery. It's a pretty good hill, sorry. But metaphysics have to deal with the things that are outside of physics. Now, we live in a world where a lot of people don't want to believe that there's anything outside of physics, but quite honestly, the majority of the cool stuff's outside of physics. So, what I want to talk about a little bit is I'm going to go over some of the physical things that are required in instinctive archery, and then I'll talk about how those affect the metaphysical side of instinctive archery. The part of you that is human, that is the human sighting system, and the part of you that knows how to adjust your bow hand. So that part is all metaphysical. So I'll go over that with you. Now, if you're looking for mechanical stuff or you're looking for your process stuff, go check out Tom Klum, I think, has a mechanics video out there, or series. And then Joel Turner, Shot IQ, has a video or a series or does some other things. Go check those guys out. They're far beyond what I am as far as a shot. But over the 25, 30 years that I've been doing this, I came down with a system that works very well for my hunting, of course. What I'd like to do is I'd like to send you to them. They will shorten that learning curve by a lot. All right. Hey guys, so I'm up here. I found a really good log right there. It's got a lot of rot in it, that way I don't bury some arrows, but it's starting to get late. Look at this view though. Amazing, huh? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over a couple things with instinctive shooting, and I'll go over the physical parts first. So the physical part is actually form. You can't really get a metaphysical shot until you get a physical shot, and what I mean by that is everything has to be exactly the same every time. And I'm a little bit under the keep it simple, stupid kind of ideas. I teach spay casting, and I teach it the same way. The one thing that you will find in my shooting compared to some of these other guys that teach this, that teach shooting, is I keep my all my shots under 30 yards. So that's what I'm good to. I just had a question on Instagram on how far do I feel comfortable, and 30 yards is it for me. I'm shooting a pretty heavy setup too, so my arrows fall off after 30 yards quite a bit. So you know, if I'm shooting it like a grouse where it's a hit or miss situation, I'm not going to wound anything. You know, all bets are off. If I get an arrow in an animal, all bets are off. I'm going to be flinging arrows as much as I can, try to get another arrow in them. But so I'll go over some of the physical things, and then I'll show you how that plays into the metaphysics. Okay guys, so I'll try to get some close-ups of bow hand and form type things, because the first thing is you got to get your mechanics right. You have to get your mechanics right in order for you to shoot metaphysically. So for your brain to take over, for your brain to raise your bow arm the right height, you have to be able to make sure that everything else is the same, because if that's not a constant, then your brain is going to continue to, it's like an autofocus on your phone or on your camera, right? If your autofocus is messed up, it doesn't know what to focus on, so it always is shifting. So if you're always having to adjust because your form's off, your brain will never get it figured out to where this is where you have to hold your bow arm and those kind of things, or your back tension. The three major things is first your bow hand. So every time that you put that on the bow, it's got to go on the same spot every time. That's why I like to shoot these, because that's what fits me. So when I'm putting it on there, if I'm down here, well, I have just raised that arrow point an inch, see? So I have to engage that bow in the same spot every time for it to be constant. So your bow hand's got to be constant. It's got to have the same amount of pressure here or here. If you're teetering your bow at all on your bow hand, then you're going to be stressing one limb higher or one limb more than the other, and that's going to throw off your tiller, and that'll throw off your knock set and everything else, and it won't be consistent. So of course your form when you're talking archery has to be a consistency thing. So your bow hand's one. The second thing is your release. As I'm going back, once I feel right in my shoulder blade where that hits, where I have that proper tension, that's when everything fires. So your bow hand, your back tension or your release, and then your last is your back tension or your anchor. I was taught to anchor in a certain spot, but if you anchor in a certain spot and you don't pay attention to back tension, you'll do what they call collapsing in on it, or you won't pull all the way through it. And when you're talking one of these kind of bows, you're not talking a wall. Now this bow, when Wade built this for me, I told him to kind of make it to where it stacks right at the end of my draw, because it helps with that. I can't move a whole lot back here. It helps a ton when you can't move a bunch back here. Then you're a lot more consistent in your back tension. And guys with longer draws hate my bow because it's a 56-inch bow and it only draws 26 inches. So, you know, if you draw 28 inches, you're going to hit 2 inches of stack that you probably won't be able to get past. Compound shooters call it a wall. When I come back, you'll notice, now if you watch the very tip of my arrow, that'll tell you how much it moves on my bow here. So if you look at the very tip of my arrow, depending on how much it moves here, that'll tell you how consistent my mechanics are. Because if I'm at full draw and then right before I shoot, it goes like, it comes in just a little bit. That happens sometimes. Guys are anticipating the shot and it'll come in. You're losing every inch of draw, especially on this short bow, you're losing a pound or two. So that equates to how far you're going to hit, you know, on the target. So your mechanics are super important. Once you get to here, I continue to pull to keep that arrow constant. If I don't continue to pull, what'll happen is I'll let off, and you see that arrow creep forward. I don't know if you guys saw a little bit of that, but the arrow did creep forward. Once you get things consistent, that's the key. Whatever it takes to get it consistent. People look at my form and they'll tell me my elbow's too high and I've got too much string on my lower finger, and you know, they're right. They're right. My form's probably junk compared to some of the guys that are good target shooters or guys that are. But you got to understand that most of what I do with traditional bow hunting is I want to get close, and I want to get within that 30-yard range. So when I do those things, this system works really good with that 30 and under. I'm going to show you now where the metaphysics take over. So, you know, really none of this is really instinctive. If it was instinctive, none of us would even have to be looking at this video right now. So there really isn't anything instinctive about it. What it becomes is learned. I would say it's a learned shot. So we learn how to shoot without sights, and we learn how to shoot without using the tip of our arrow, or we learn how to shoot without having to know known yardages. So it's not, people call it instinctive, but if it was purely instinctive, you'd never have to learn anything, right? It'd just be instincts. So with that said, get your form down. Once that form's down, the way you set up your instinctive shot is through repetition. It's like shooting basketballs. You have to shoot and you have to shoot and you have to shoot. You have to use the right form so your brain knows that that arrow is going on the path that you sent it on consistently. And then it will adjust for your windage and your elevation. So your windage and elevation. So I'm going to show you how I started doing that. And this is how I set it up when I first start instinctive shooting. I always start at a short distance, and then I pick a spot to concentrate on. Okay, I'm going to be shooting some flues because you'll guys be able to see where they go. And what I do, I'm going to get on this side. What I do is I pick a spot, and the spot that I'm picking is right here. You guys can see it probably on the camera, but there's a little spot right there, and I pick the smallest spot that I could pick, and I just concentrate on that spot. Now I've been shooting enough to where my arrow, and I'll even look at a small spot on that spot. And once all my form is the same, well, I hit it that time. Once my form's the same, whenever I shoot at that, my brain's going to take it over, and it's going to make me hold my arm, and my back tension's going to keep pulling until it gets to the point that it knows. And then he's getting excited about these arrows. No. So I'll do it again. And I'm hitting that same spot. So what happens is, subconsciously, my brain knows exactly where to hold because of that arrow flight. And it comes from a bunch of repetition. Now I'll continue to do this until my groups are really tight from that concentration at that spot. And if once those groups get really tight and I'm hitting the spot, I don't want to hit, 6 inches high. If I'm hitting 6 inches high and I'm concentrating, that's still not going to do me any good, because out at 20 yards, 6 inches high is not going to work, right? So you want to make sure that you shoot enough shots to where it just moves in there. Let yourself off the hook here. Do not overthink this. This should be fun, so just shoot. If those groups are going high and right, as long as they're grouping, you're good. If they're not grouping, it's probably in your form. It's not in your concentration. You just keep looking at that spot and burning a hole in that spot. Once you're consistent and your groups are lining up where you want them to line up on the target, move back. Move back to 15 yards. And if you're having a problem keeping consistent there, before you really go into form a bunch, if you're still consistent at 10, put something on your target that makes it to where you could concentrate on that spot. So if your target turns into a big blob, then you're going to have a hard time keeping consistent. Your brain, the metaphysical part of you will not be able to adjust. Okay, so you're shooting for that, and I'm shooting for the littlest thing. I shoot for like thumb size. That's what I concentrate on, is a thumb size area. So say we're back here and it kind of looks like a blob up there. So what you want to do is take something that you can shoot at. See if I can get this piece of snow to sit on there. No, you take it down. So you see the little tuft of snow. Now I have something to concentrate on. That's the hardest part sometimes. Watch out, Gunner. All right, once you've got your groups there, then we'll move back. This is a very effective range for me. This is probably, when you call in bulls, this is one of the ranges in the Cascades that I shoot at the most, probably, is this 25 to 30 yard range. So arrows are flying a little funny. My flues are getting wet, so that's kind of got some weird drag on it. And of course, at these yardages now, your group will open up a little bit more, because if you have any deviation in there, but you're still concentrating on that white spot down there. Of course, when you move back, you're still concentrating on the smallest of small spots and concentrating on all of your, it makes it hard when you got a whiny dog, and concentrating on your back tension. These arrows are starting to fly funny. They got wet feathers, but I think you get the point. All right, guys, I hope that helped a bunch. I love bringing this stuff to you guys. Hey, if you could do me a favor, if you'd like and subscribe down here, it does a lot for us. Also, leave me a comment. Let me know how if this stuff is helping you out. For you guys that haven't maybe been able to shoot consistently, if you start doing that, please let me know, man. I really would like to know if I'm helping you guys out. Also, we have a Facebook group, we have a Facebook page, we post videos on it, we talk about this stuff on the group. Go over to Facebook, subscribe and like that stuff, and of course we have Instagram. So, all right, take it easy, guys. Oh, one last thing. If you want to help bring this to more people, become part of the barebow culture, there's a link up here. Click on that link and you can help by subscribing. All right, take it easy. Thanks a lot.